All right, hi there, everyone. Welcome to Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel, live here on YouTube, following a Bills victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to close out the preseason. I am Adam Bonini, WGRZ TV, Sports Talk Live Buffalo, Sal Mayorana, the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Preseason comes to an end. Sal, Bills finally put one in the win column. Not that that amounts to much, but there was a bit of a different tone, I would say, in this particular game, especially as opposed to the loss in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, that was a debacle last week. And, I don't think Sean McDermott was really all that wrapped up in trying to win this game tonight. But what he really wanted to do was make sure the team played with more competitiveness, just sharper in all areas of the game, even though they were playing a bunch of guys, second and third teamers, some of whom will not be on the team. You just wanted a general better performance in just the way they went about things. And we saw that all night long. I mean, right from the start, Cole Bishop, the first play of the game, there was a penalty, but then after the first play that counted, that's the one guy everyone's looking at tonight, Adam, and he gets a run blitz and stuffs the guy. And from that moment on, you just felt like, hey, they came to play tonight, and they put forth a very nice performance in a game that we're all going to forget about 3 days from now. But it does feel good for the Bills, I'm sure, to end it with a good win coming off what happened last week.
Well, one of the few sort of meaningful positions was safety, right, with Bishop playing. And the play you mentioned, as well as the third down break up there as well, where I thought he showed some pretty good instincts. And I think people are looking for, signs of that from him, obviously, with the need with he and Taylor Rapp to step up and answer a big question at the safety position in that secondary where they appear to be vulnerable as the regular season now is upon us. I was encouraged with what I saw, but a lot of questions still remain, and availability, right? Staying healthy. That's a huge question with Cole Bishop.
Yeah, I mean, the injuries have killed him for his first two training camps as a pro. So this was better than last year. At least he got back on the field in the summertime when he played in a couple of these preseason games. Now, again, how much do we really put stock in this, Adam? He's playing against Kyle Trask and a bunch of Buccaneers who, aren't going to be on their team. In 2 weeks, he's facing Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers. I mean, it's a whole different situation. So is he ready to go? I don't know if I'm going to stretch it that far yet. I mean, he's still a work in progress, a second-round pick who didn't play a whole lot last year, and it's got a long way to go. But at least this was a positive step after, last week he didn't play good. He was only on the field for 12 snaps, and it really didn't go that well. And that created a whole bunch of angst this week, right? I mean, McDermott and Babich, that was the primary topic one of the primary topics in both of their press conferences leading up to this game. Where is Cole Bishop? So they've got to feel pretty good about what they saw tonight. Now he's got to push forward and continue to grow because, like I said, he's a long way from a finished product.
All right, Bills preseason victory at Tampa Bay tonight. Closing things out, we are live on YouTube. This is Believe in Bills presented by FanDuel. We invite you with your comments, questions, as well as we continue here to sort of break things down, think about cut down day coming up this week and key roster spots. Let's talk about Shane Buchelle tonight. I mean, talk about an impressive performance. I mean, I think we had talked Mitch Trubisky as the number 2, pretty well established, but you got to give Buchelle credit for putting a heck of a performance. What was he? 25 of 30, 278, I think it was. It really, 278 yards. It really impressive getting the whole game in tonight.
Yeah, and we had a feeling that he was going to play the whole game because they've seen what they need to see, obviously, from Trubisky. He's the number 2. I mean, there's no doubt that he won the backup job. So Mike White got his opportunity in 2 games. They wanted to give Buchelle the whole game tonight because it's going to come down to White or Buchelle for the practice squad. They're not keeping them both, obviously. So he put forth, quite a statement, I thought, in this game. Is Mike White maybe the better, more talented quarterback with a bigger arm? Yeah, probably. But that looked pretty good from Shane Buchelle. Again, against a vanilla defense of a bunch of guys who are going to be on the street. But he's also playing with the bottom of the Bills roster, and he made it look pretty good. So I was pleasantly surprised by what Shane Buchelle was able to do. And that last play, Adam, I mean, first down with a minute and a half to go in the game, you're trying to close it out. There are times that McDermott won't even trust Josh Allen to throw a pass in that situation. And he rolled Buchelle out, and boom, they get a first down. And that basically told Tom Bowles, forget it, pal, this game's over. So, yeah, that was pretty neat to watch that happen.
Yeah, very impressive performance by Buchelle, no question in that regard. As far as we look toward now the regular season, Trey White heard Brandon Beane before the game. Not much of a timetable given. I think Sean McDermott may be speaking as we are right now. So if there's any update, it didn't sound like there was going to be one, and they're still evaluating things, at least according to Brandon Beane. He wants to play things close to the vest. So there's a huge question mark as for what's going to happen there with Max Hairston injured as well, potentially now if White can't make it back. Dane Jackson was on the field a lot tonight, and he's had a tough preseason. Had a tough go tonight at times, did make some plays. What were your impressions of his performance?
Yeah, look, I mean, the fact that he's playing this late into a game when they've got rookies on their roster, they've got guys they just signed this week who could have finished this game out for them. Zy Alexander was out there, to name one. Look, I think they're trying to get a final evaluation on whether Dane Jackson's worth keeping. I think that's why he played so much and then so late in the game too. You know, the Trey White injury, Adam, really has screwed things up because I think Dane Jackson was going to be cut before Trey White got hurt. Now you're looking at a situation, if he can't go on opening day, you've got Dane Jackson, Jamarcus Ingram, who have two guys who have been here a little bit and know the defense. And then you've got, the rookie Dorian Strong. He's not ready to start in week one. So you may not have a choice early on. You might have to keep Dane Jackson and Ingram and find a way to do something with Dorian Strong. I'm not sure what they would do. You certainly can't play Daquan Hardy. We saw him play nickel tonight. He was absolutely awful. I can't imagine he makes the team. He's typically a boundary corner, so he was kind of in a tough spot playing nickel, but you can't rely on him to play. They've got an issue at cornerback. If Trey White, and Brandon Beane said nothing, Adam. He said a bunch of words, but he basically said nothing. I've just looked at McDermott. There's been nothing tweeted out about what he said, so we don't know. We're not going to know about Trey White for a little while, so it definitely bears watching. But that is, I wouldn't put it past the Bills, Adam. If Trey White's going to miss some time, I can almost guarantee you they're going to sign a free agent, somebody who gets cut next week. They're going to bring a veteran in. I don't think you can go in the season with Dane Jackson or Jamarcus Ingram starting a game for you.
Yeah, and that's a tall order with the Baltimore Ravens coming to town and Lamar Jackson and everything that offense brings, multi-dimensional, obviously. From a defensive perspective, one of the big storylines of the offseason and coming off that AFC Championship game loss, what they were going to do with the defensive front. They addressed it. We've talked about what they did in the draft. Very impressed, once again, with Deon Walker in this game.
Yeah, he was the one guy who flashed on the D line. He had a sack. I mean, he ended up with a half a sack with Epinesa, but it was his rush that created that. I mean, he just blew through his guy, forced the quarterback to the left. Epinesa was right there, so they shared it. But that was all Deon Walker. That was one of those Epinesa. Thanks a lot, pal. I get a stat for that. He also blew up a run play. Again, just dominated the guy in front of him, got into the backfield. That's exactly the kind of play that the Bills have needed from a D tackle, right? I mean, that's what we thought Ed Oliver would do that on a regular basis ever since they drafted him in the first round, and that's been very sporadic. So Deon Walker at 335 at 6'7", who can move. I mean, if he figures it out, Adam, and contributes in his rookie year, that's going to be a hell of a fourth round pick. And he looked good. He looked like he could play. Now, again, everything we say, you have to remind people that they're going against scrubs. So this was not the Bucs offensive line, which is a pretty good offensive line, but he looked good. And I like that I'm pretty sure he's going to get a game jersey early in the season.
Well, Walker.
I think Dwayne Carter is the guy who's going to be on the outside looking in. I don't think he gets a game jersey early on.
And Walker, I mean, he represents, what there was of a philosophical shift, right? In terms of bringing in that size and that type of player. And we've seen, that payoff in these situations, obviously, in a preseason situation, which of course you have to qualify. Uh, let's touch on a guy that, I think that, especially with a Hard Knocks appearance, so many people are pulling for, and you wrote about him this week, Jimmy Charlo, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to love it. He was all over the field tonight. Whatever he lacks in overall talent, he's got, obviously a tremendous motor, and there's some football instinct there, especially coming out of a zone coverage type situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's a kid you got to be rooting for. He comes in, he gets the fumble recovery. Nice play by, I think it was Zy Alexander, actually, who forced that fumble, the kid they just signed a couple days ago. Charlo is right there because he's around the ball. I think he was in on 5 tackles. We'll see the stat sheet finalized pretty soon here. And then the big play at the goal line, he stuffs the 2-point conversion. I mean, if they make that 2-point conversion, the Bills got to sweat it out maybe a little bit because they're only a field goal away from losing. He just blew, and down there on the goal line, Adam, big bodies rule the earth down there. Here's a 225-pound kid who slithered in and stuffed the runner for no gain. So you love to see it. I mean, I don't think he can make the 53, but I'll tell you what, he's got to be on the practice squad. He showed enough that he should definitely be on the practice squad. And then, we'll see on Ulofoshio. I mean, I think it comes down to Ulofoshio and Shaq Thompson for that 5th linebacker. I don't think Charlo can break into that. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. But, yeah, West Point Jimmy's got to be on the practice squad, man, or I'll be pissed off.
No
if
question.
If they pass him up, I'll be pissed off.
I agree. Tyrell Shavers, another one, right? You look at the touchdown catch tonight, just absolutely tremendous. You see what he brings to the table. Did make some plays on special teams also, which is a big factor that the Bills are going to be weighing as far as they, what they consider in cutting down this roster.
Yeah, he was still on the field covering kicks in the 3rd quarter. So that was an indication to me that they're trying to see every possible rep they can get of him, because that's going to be critical. If he's going to make the team, he's got to be on that kickoff coverage team and probably the punt coverage team too. I didn't notice him on punts, but I definitely noticed him on the kickoffs, and I think he was in on 2 tackles. Meanwhile, Laviska Shenault, who's the guy that everyone's been thinking would get that 6th spot if they keep 6 receivers and be a special teams only guy, he blew 2 plays on kickoff coverage. It was his mistake that led to 2 long returns. So I think he did make a tackle later, but he blew 2. And then he had a nice return, which is what they are hoping he can do. He had a nice kickoff return, 37 yards, and then he caught a pass late in the game. So really, to me, it looks like it's coming down to Shenault and Shavers for, if they keep 6, that 6th spot. Now, I don't know what to make of Curtis Samuel, Adam. I don't know what to make of this guy. Doesn't make the trip because he's sick after he had just gotten back to practice. And McDermott had even mentioned him the other day that, yeah, we got him back involved and he looks pretty good. And then he gets sick and doesn't even go on the trip. So I don't know what to say about Curtis Samuel. Again, I think they'd love to trade him if they could.
With that contract, it's going to be
it's a mystery. Difficult. I don't know what they can do with him. But, I mean, it would really suck if Curtis Samuel gets that spot having done nothing and Shavers doesn't get the spot. And then they lose maybe Shavers to a practice squad or to a roster they can't get him back on the practice squad.
Don't you think someone would pick him up? Don't you feel like someone would pick Shavers up?
But here's the thing, Adam. Teams love their own guys. So there are plenty of other wide receivers that teams are going to cut, and they're going to want to get them back on their own practice squad. So I don't worry all that much that Shavers will get claimed. He's got a better chance than he's ever had because he did have such a nice preseason. But I think they'd be able to get him back on the practice squad, and that might be the determining factor of you keep Samuel and then maybe you still keep Shenault. It's going to be fascinating. Whatever they do, that'll be the one area that I'm looking at closest is what they're going to do at wide receiver.
What were your thoughts on Tyler Bass? Obviously, good to see him back out there.
Yeah.
And 3 of 4. in
Yeah,
this
I
game, and
mean,
coming off that pelvic soreness or whatever. It was kind of a mercurial sort of injury,
there
but
was.
the glass was more than half full with him tonight. Good to see him back out there.
It was good to see him back out there, but Adam, come on, you can't miss a 26-yard field goal.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care if it's practice or whatever. You can't miss from 26. Now, yeah, he did make his other 5 kicks, 3 field goals. They were all short, 37, 37, and 39, I think it
39.
was.
39 was his
Right.
long. Yeah.
I mean, none of those are all that challenging, and he made his extra points. Good. I liked what he did on kickoff. He did not kick one ball into the end zone and give him a free 35. He made the Buccaneers run it out. Now, of course, it didn't work out so good because their coverage unit was terrible.
Yeah,
but I liked the work that he put in. But man, I mean, there's 4 minutes to go in the game? That's the put away kick from 26 yards. You can't miss. I don't care. So that put a stain on it for me. But it was good to see him back. It's better than not having him back. The guy we should be talking about is Zach Davidson.
right.
So what the hell was that? I mean, holy
What was that? 62 yards.
62 yards. That was a bomb. And then his second one was a good kick. He got it inside the 20 and they downed it. I mean, he's not making the team. I mean, Jackson Hawes is making the team as the 3rd tight end. But, they'll probably try to get him down the practice squad. And I guess it's nice to know that in a pinch, if Brad Robbins gets hurt, they've got him. If he gets hurt during the week, they can activate Zach Davidson for the game and have him punt. Nice little skill to have. I guess he did it in college. I wasn't even aware of that until they said it on the broadcast, but he did punt in college. So yeah, that was a nice surprise. It was probably the funniest thing that happened in the game tonight.
It's what he had done, like I think originally, and then converted to tight end.
Yeah, I guess he was a punter.
Understand it. So yeah, I mean, that was a high point of the game to see that. I mean, that was kind of a jaw-dropping moment that you didn't necessarily expect. I mean, a 62-yarder. So now, as we kind of look toward the regular season opener against the Baltimore Ravens, Sunday Night Football will be on Channel 2 and NBC in the Buffalo market, NBC nationally. Obviously, prime time right out of the gate for obvious reasons. How prepared isn't the right word. With all they've gone through during this particular preseason in the way of injuries and time on task, and I'm thinking of the safety position there. I mean, I have a moderate level of concern, especially in terms of the secondary, where things stand early on here, about how vulnerable they might be, and when things start flying for real, and they will in a very significant way against Baltimore.
Yeah, I think they are a little bit behind in the preparation because they had so many guys miss, time in training camp and preseason. They didn't have Khalil Shakir. Curtis Samuel, whatever he's going to be, has not been around. They've had some guys on defense. Terrell Bernard missed time. Cole Bishop, Taylor Rapp missed time. So I don't know that they're fully functional yet, but that's the good thing about what the NFL has done with these preseason games and getting them out of the way and giving teams 2 weeks now to prepare. Back in the old days, and if you remember, the last preseason games were on a Thursday and the games were played 9 days later, right, on a Sunday or whatever. Now they've got 2 full weeks to get ready. They'll make their roster tweaks. They've got practice time. They've got, at least 6 practices now that they'll have before the Ravens game with their team as the 53-man unit. So I think now we'll get an opportunity to start getting it together. Hopefully they get Shakir back. I mean, he's still not back. Still got 2 weeks to go, but he's not on the team right now. So they've got some work to do. Like I said, I think they have fallen behind because they had so many injuries, but there's time to get it back together here.
Yeah, Shakir, obviously, Tre'Davious White. We'll wait for some sort of an update as soon as possible on him as the Bills get ready to face the Baltimore Ravens to open the regular season. That's going to do it. Preseason in the books with a victory at Tampa Bay. And Sal, we will be here live following the Ravens game. We'll be, obviously, Tuesday after the cuts. We'll have another show and some takes and updating on where things stand in terms of the 53 and then pregame coverage. But after every game, we'll have this live coverage because it obviously more than warrants it and gives people who follow us and our subscribers a chance to kind of chime in. No comments here tonight, but it's kind of an open forum in the post game. We'll get to as many comments and questions as possible. Looking forward to it as always, Sal.
Yes, I am too. We'll get a couple days off here, and it's going to be an active Monday and Tuesday. They'll start cutting guys probably on Monday, and yeah, it'll be, like I said, it'll be very interesting. I'm telling you, they're going to look at the waiver wire, Adam. The guys that get cut, I should say the guys that make the 53-man originally. There's about five or six guys that might not want to get houses yet and just stay in their apartments because there's going to be some movement at the bottom of that roster, I think.
All right, great point. Great post-game coverage. Sal, great work as always. Pleasure to be with you, and thanks for joining us here on Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel. I'm Adam Benini, and we'll see you later this week here on the show. Thank you.